So today, I want to get into a couple different things, and hopefully we have enough time because I want to teach you the Egyptian postures as well in this workshop. But there's two paths right now on this planet that I feel, and the two paths is the path of disconnection or the path of ascension. We have these two very powerful polarities in our lives, and right now I think there's an awakening manifesting at this critical time, and you could see it at Contact in the Desert, Conscious Life Expo, Ancient Aliens on TV. You can see that people are feeling this information and they want to know. They can feel that there's something not right. And I think that's why this movement is like really catching steam, because the normal population is waking up to the fact that, wait a second, the world doesn't feel right. There's just something off, And there are many people like myself, and I was told that there's millions and millions of people, and I'm pretty sure every person in this room has had an experience. We're receiving messages, journeys, information. We're getting things from higher consciousness all the time, and it's propelling us into a new future. It's really helping us get to a new place of understanding. And we have to understand that because we live in a polarity universe, there's always two paths, and they're always running parallel. Okay, you can't separate them. So as a world, let's say, gets more and more into chaos, war, destruction, fear, because of that polarity is so over here, you're going to get the opposite polarity happening at the same time, where you're going to get a great awakening of people that see that this is not right, and it's going to propel them into a new future. So right now we're seeing two very distinct paths that we're all going through collectively. So it's not like an ascension where it's like a rapture and people are going to take you. We're going to have to live in this world and see what's happening, but it's going to take us to a very interesting place in our future. And the path of disconnection it's pretty obvious, and if anybody's seen the show Black Mirror, anybody with Black Mirror? Anyways, it's just basically, the more we separate from nature, we're turning to alternative things to create order with us, and it's turning into outer growth technology. And if technology continues in the way it has without spiritual development, that technology will overrun us. We will be subservient to the technology. So this is a path of disconnection, and this will ultimately lead to chaos and destruction. And then the path of ascension is just reconnecting ourselves to the flow of nature. It's not hard. It's really, really not hard. It's just connecting to the nature and the universal laws. We're bound in this three-dimensional space by specific laws, and that's where we're going through. And how many people here have left their body? Just by a... Okay. Just that is amazing. Because I really believe that the first step of awakening is to expand yourself outside of your third dimensional space. And one of the most intense methods of doing that is having an outer body experience. So everybody in here that has experienced that, you would be considered multidimensional awareness. So you're already outside of the sphere, and maybe that's why you're more receptive to this information that's coming forward. And we can actually build technology that's not AI, not transhumanism. We can build spiritual technology, but we're not ready for that. And the experiencers that are being taken up on these UFOs and ships, they're shown in the UFO craft, they're shown technology that's completely integrated into their consciousness. In fact, the technology in the UFO is so advanced that the ship is conscious itself, and you have telepathic communication with the craft. The craft is alive. All right, so we have a lot of steps to go to understanding that consciousness is the absolute key to the UFO experience. And once we understand that, we will be given that understanding and technology. Because remember, if we were given UFO technology today with the level of consciousness that we're at, I think we would last a week, maybe. We would just destroy ourselves faster. So we can't do that. So what's happening is the experiencer is receiving information just bits by bit. You know, let's take you up on a ship, and guess what? You're going to drive the ship today, and we're going to show you how to do it. You know, use your mind and project where you want to go, and the ship will take you there. So there's no controls, there's no steering wheel, it's your mind. It's your telepathic connection to the being that is this ship. So the nuts and bolts UFO stuff, that exists, of course, but I would say when you see that, it's a lower form of technology that is done by the governments. All right, so what we're talking about here is a spiritual revolution of consciousness to free ourselves, but we're definitely not ready for that yet, I don't think. But as we're getting through disclosure and talking openly like we are today, we're getting there faster and faster and faster. So this is my favorite picture I made, which is the path of the experiencer. I hope you can see down there. And I always thought that, you know, as an experiencer, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating to be an experiencer because you get a glimpse and you have no context. So you come back and you're like, I just saw the most amazing thing, but I don't know what it is. How do I explain this? So it's almost like these higher beings are slowly trying to awaken us and lead us down a pathway. So they're not just saying, here it is, there you go. They're giving us these little pieces of information that actually propel us into our future. It's like a gentle hand guiding us into a new path. And I hope that it helps you in your journey. But before we go any further, and we really have to leave our belief systems. Okay, we've been... yeah. Our beliefs hold us in the reality of those beliefs. And until we shed old belief systems that have, I would say, plagued mankind for thousands of years, we're not going to move forward. So you really have to shed the ideas that we came into this world with and start building new belief systems out of universal laws and experience. That's what we have to start doing. So we have to peel away the old. And so this is my journey. And it's, you know, I would never tell these stories to anybody, but I wrote the book and now everybody knows, so I have to tell these stories. But I remember coming to this planet. Has anybody else remembered coming to this planet before pre-births? One? Okay, so it seems kind of rare, right? So many people remember this. And what I remember is coming through a portal, and I'm just like a little baby, and I'm walking down a hallway. It looked, to me, in my mind, it reminded me of an airport. Like I'm walking down an aisle in an airport, and there's ladies who look like stewardesses, and they're leading all these little babies down these hallways. And one of the stewardess said to me, okay, it's time for you to choose your parents. And they led me down another hallway, and it was kind of like the movie Matrix, you know, where there's like all these like infinite doorways, but these doorways were like this big, just small enough for a little baby to go through. And they directed me to a door, and they said, okay, it's time for you to choose your parents. And as I walked through this door, it was like walking into a movie theater, like a big, dark movie theater. And in the front where the screen of this movie theater is, this big portal opened up. This big light portal opened up. And I could watch my parents, my future parents, through that portal. So I watched them in different moments of their lives. And then I feel this pull. It feels like a magnet, like it's a magnetic pull. And suddenly I'm here. So when I first started to speak, when I first learned how to speak, I would always tell my mother, aren't you so happy that I chose you? You know? And I told her this so many times, and she still even tells the story like that. But she didn't understand where that was coming from. But for me, it was very obvious. That was the memory of me coming and choosing my parents. So, and I tell this joke everywhere, so how much therapy do we not need now knowing that we chose our parents? Right? It helps knowing that you made that choice, buddy, So growing up, I was very psychic, and my issue was the closet. I could not sleep at night unless my closet door was closed, because if it was open, things would come out of that closet. And, I'll be laying in bed and I'll close the closet door, go to bed, and then in the middle of the night, I'll hear the door open. You pull the covers up and you're like, oh no. And there was this thing always in my closet, and it just looked like a shadow. There was just this shadow in my closet that would watch me. And some nights the shadow would actually come and take me out of my body and time travel with me. They would take me to different points, and the way I knew it was time travel is that there was a park behind my house, and when I would look out the window when this being would take me, there was cornfields where that park was. So I knew that this was not the time period that I was in. Yeah. Yeah. And then I started to have past life rememberings. And I actually started to remember my past lives extremely early. I would say about 3 years old, I started to go back into past lives, and they were always terrible. They were always terrible. And the first one I experienced was basically, not this one, but it was like a fight to the death. And hopefully you never get to experience or see that, but it's not like the movies. It's really not like the movies. So I was very, very traumatized at a very early age, getting to go through, experience those past lives again. And I remember when I was 11 years old, and I was in elementary school. My parents took me out of one school and they put me in another school, so I had to make all new friends. And I met this other child, and when I saw this person, all these memories of a lifetime I had with them came back to me. And it was a crazy lifetime. We were like knights, and we were soldiers, and we were protecting the king, and somebody told the king that we were plotting against him, so the king just went to me and my friend and said, okay, well, you have two choices. Either I kill you right now, or you guys fight to the death and the winner stays alive. So, we chose to fight each other, and then my friend said he can't kill me, so he gave me the word and I had to kill him. And I remember that whole life, and it was extremely traumatic and really hard. And I remember running to him. We were like 10, 11 years old, so this was young. I remember going right up to him and saying, I can't believe we're here again. He's like, don't you remember our past life together? And he was like, no, what are you talking about? I'm like, and I was upset. I'm like, you don't remember me? I killed you, buddy. But I want to tell you how amazing these connections are, because that person that was in that life that is in my life right now, we're still best friends. And he's still a soldier in this life. He's this MMA fighting guy, and I won't mess with him, So it's like these paths that we keep having together in past lives, they intersect. We come in groups. We come in these soul groups together. And it's amazing if we could just peel away our beliefs and we can see beyond, to know that, this person is in our life because of what happened in previous lives, and we're here to help each other through that karma. It's very special. And in my early 20s, something really weird started to happen to me. Has anybody experienced sleep paralysis? Like, come on, this is... 15 years ago when I was talking about energy medicine and I said, has anybody heard about Reiki? Not one person would raise their hand. All right, think of how far we've come. So I would wake up in the middle of the night and be completely frozen. And I'd feel a presence walking around the room. And it was very, very scary for me because I didn't really have any spiritual background or religious background. I didn't know what was happening. And your mind goes a little crazy. It's like, I'm frozen in bed. I can't move. Sorry, I'll back up a little. What sleep paralysis is you wake up, you're completely paralyzed, and you're basically screaming in your mind to wake up or move a finger. It's really terrible to be in that state. And it's even scarier when you can feel something walking around your room or sitting on your bed. That's even worse. So immediately my mind goes to, okay, this is demons or aliens. Right away your mind goes to fear. And this started to happen to me almost every single night. And I was just terrified. And so I'm basically frozen in my bed, or frozen in my body, and I'm trying to wake myself up. And the strangest thing started to happen is that my body felt like a sarcophagus, but there was another body in my body. And that was the body that was awake and aware. And when that body was awake, I can actually move inside my body. So it's almost like I'm trapped within my body and I'm struggling to wake myself up. And one night I just completely had it. And by the way, this is an extremely common experience. There's so many artworks and paintings of this type of experience. So this is nothing new to the human experience. So basically one night I just had enough and I shook so hard that I popped out of my body and I had my first outer body experience in my early 20s. And as I came out, I could see myself laying on the bed, which was very freaky. I was like straight as a board and my eyes were wide open for some reason. And at the foot of my bed, there was this huge shadow being. It just looked like a Grim Reaper, just standing right there. And what goes through your head in a second is, I'm dead, this is real, I'm screwed. That's the reality. It's like, okay, there's more to life than a physical body. Now I've entered outside of it and I'm screwed. And I got so scared that I got sucked back in my body and woke up. But my personality is, I just got a taste of something awesome. I just left my body. And I know what it feels like. I'm going to try to do it again and again and again and again. So that's what I did. I knew what that feeling was. And it's a state between waking and dreaming. It's like this in-between state, right before you pass out into unconsciousness. And basically, you put your body to sleep, but you keep your mind awake. And once you feel the body shut off, then I say to myself, okay, I can leave now. And then I just shake myself, pop out. And at first, I was just hanging around my bedroom. I didn't really go too much further than my bedroom. I just kind of float around. And then I started to get a little more brave, and I went outside. But the astral world is very strange. It's almost like the dream world. Whereas, if I leave through the roof of my house, I could be in a jungle setting right after I leave. It's almost like the reality is not really fixed. It's like you go where you need to go. You go where you need to experience. And then something strange started to happen, is that at nighttime I started to get visitations. And so that was a new experience. And these beings, they just looked invisible. They looked like a humanoid body. And you ever see the movie Predator, where it's like they go invisible, but you can see like the shimmer and the outline? It's exactly what these beings look like. They just look like an outline or a shimmer. And they would come into my room at night and just yank me out of my body. So I had no choice. It was like astral abduction. And so they'd pull me up, pull me out of my body, and they'd hold me and they'd shoot me up into space. where I could see the Earth. It's a really cool visual effect, and if a Hollywood CGI person can do this, it's like the Google Earth effect, where it's like you fly out into space really fast, and then you see the Earth, and then they shot me back down to the planet, and I'd be dropped off in environments that I didn't recognize. So that's where I got this idea that I'm astrally time traveling, because when I got to the planet, I didn't recognize it. I did not recognize the planet. So this was like the first scene that they showed me, and basically the sky looked like it was burnt. It just looked like it was completely destroyed, and everything on where I was destroyed and burnt. And then they pulled me underground to this, it was like a man-made bunker, like maybe someone made it in their backyard. It was really not good. And there was someone in there, and they were suffering. So I knew whatever happened, that bunker didn't help them. And then those invisible beings came back down, picked me back up. I get shot back into outer space, and then back into my body and wake up. Could you explain that to a psychiatrist? All right, that you can't talk about these things to people. I'm sane enough to know that if I open my mouth, they'll think I'm crazy. And that's not the first thing. They showed me so many different terrible things. I'm not even going to get into it. But anyways, I didn't like my ability. It was terrible. To see different timelines and they were all bad was really awful for me. I was very traumatized. So I basically prayed every single night. It's funny, when you're not religious or spiritual, when you get into these things, you start praying right away. And I prayed for everything to stop. Please don't take me anymore. I don't want to know this. I don't want to see this. Please stop. And it did. It stopped. I stopped going on these crazy missions. And then new beings started to come and visit me. And they would communicate with me this time. The beings before, they never said a word to me. They just abducted me and dropped me off, picked me up, and put me back. But the new beings that started to come, they started to communicate, and they would say to me, before you do anything, you need to heal yourself. You can't do anything good in any world unless you heal yourself. And I had no idea what that meant. I thought I was dying. And I felt like I was dying back then. I was not a very healthy person. So I went to many doctors and took every test they could, and they said to me, Jason, not only are you healthy, but you're above average health, which was so weird because I was like, let me see if I have this here. So this is me in 2005, 23 years old. I'm 6'5", and I weighed about 160 pounds, about 30 pounds underweight there. And so I was just like a walking skeleton. In fact, my nickname in high school was Jack Skeleton. And this picture was actually pretty good. If it was like 2002, I probably would have weighed less than that. And I thought I was dying, but the doctor said I was pretty good. So my answer was not with medicine. So I kept asking them, what do I need to do to heal myself? Because my answers aren't here. No one's giving me any answers. And the first thing they said to me is, you need to learn Qigong. I need to learn Qigong. So that's what I did. So I just totally turned my life towards these beings because it seemed like they were the only ones here that were trying to help me. They were just trying to help me to heal. And the first thing they taught me was Qigong, and I started to take Chinese Qigong. I took Qi Lao, and then I went to Falun Dafa, and I made that a practice of mine. I got into fasting and cleansing, using different plant medicines, essential oils, crystals and stones. Crystals and stones are like my favorite thing, if you know me. And I'll get into that a little later. Energy medicine. Then I got into shamanism and dowsing. And I focused on these techniques, and it totally changed my life. Completely changed my life. Like if you would know the Jason pre getting taken out of his body to post taken out of his body is two different people, completely different people. And I became the archetype, I guess, of Chiron, which is the wounded healer. So my path was, I was sick, and I had to find my own path of healing. And then once I found my own path of healing, then I became the healer. And this is the path of all shamans and healers, traditional healers around the world. Do you know how they choose shamans in some cultures? As if a child gets very sick, they're at death's door, and some miraculous way they survive. They have spiritual medicine. They're chosen to be the healers. That's how it worked. All right? So it's the school of hard knocks. Get sick, get thrown down the stairs, break your bones, you figure it out. You know? And if you do, then you could help others. And I'm very, very fortunate, and I don't believe in coincidences, but I live in Ontario, in Canada, north of Toronto, where there's a place called Thunder Bay, Ontario, which has a mine there called Orlite 23. I don't know if anybody's heard of Orlite 23. Okay. This crystal comes from the Canadian Shield, which is the oldest landmass. It's more than 2 billion years old. And these crystals are a form of amethyst that was hit by a meteorite that hit that area, and it put 23 very rare metals into that crystal. So it's an incredibly powerful shamanic healing stone. And I know that crystals choose the people. And this is why I'm connected, because that gentleman right there, his name is Howard. He's the person that owns the mine, and he digs these out by hand himself. It's like a one-man operation. That's why these stones are so rare and sought after. And he's my neighbor. You know, he's literally my neighbor. So I'll just leave my house, walk next door, and say, okay, let's clean some crystals. You know, so... and do you remember at the beginning the picture of the being from my book holding this sphere? When I was writing the book, I had no clue what the cover of this book would be. And I'm a graphic artist to begin with, and so I'm having, you know, graphic designer block. And I'm meditating with this crystal, and I'm thinking, you know, what is the cover of my book? And as I fall asleep, I'm actually projected out into space. And there's that being standing in space holding this sphere in front of me. And I'm like, that's the coolest image I've ever seen. So I wake up in the morning and I redid what I saw in that journey. And so that, what you see on the cover of my book is what I saw on my journey. It was pretty amazing. But crystals are very, how many people use crystals? This is incredible. Okay, I'm in the right place. But one of the things, and I'm not really touching too much on this, but there was about 5 to 10 years of my life where almost every day I was being attacked by entities. Because once you leave, it's almost like, okay, this person's awake. It's like the Matrix. It's literally like the Matrix. This person's awake, let's shut him up. Let's scare him back into not leaving his body. So it was like a 5 to 10 year war saying, no, I understand this reality and I'm ready for it. But crystals, I had to grid my house. I had to grid my bedroom. I slept with crystals under my pillow. I slept with crystals in my hand because that actually helped stop these attacks, you know, because you're in resonance with earth energies. You're in resonance with powerful, powerful energies that we don't even know about that come from these crystals. So it really helped me, and then I guess I'm just universally guided to be connected to the mind. Oh, so yeah, there's the image of this guy in space. The pyramid and the planet and that portal up there, that wasn't in the vision. It was just in space with this guy holding this sphere. And there's many people that I've spoken to who's actually seen the exact same thing. So when they see the cover of the book, they're just shocked, and they're like, that sphere is a dimensional time portal. That gives you access to all time and space. That's what they've told me. So in 2007, I believe, I'm terrible with dates, by the way, I was at a health show in Toronto, and there was a booth called Shungite, Secret Russian Stone. And at the booth, there's these pictures of statues, Egyptian statues, holding these cylinders. And there was a circle around the cylinders, and it said, "What is he holding?" And, it felt like Spirit just pulled my attention right to that. And the gentleman, who I'm very good friends with now, he said, "Here, try these out." He's a big Russian guy. "Here, try these." And I hold these rods, and instantly when I held the rods, I started to feel heat, like there was like heat being generated in my solar plexus and stomach. It was like a battery switch just gets turned on. And I knew this feeling well because it takes like 20 to 30 minutes of Qigong to get that feeling. So I'm like, okay, this is some ancient technology here that we're not aware of, for energy healing. So I took these home. There's some of the statues. And if you look closely on these statues, and now you're going to look everywhere. Anytime you see Egyptian artwork, go look at their hands, because they're always holding these rods. And if you ask an Egyptologist, why are they holding these rods, they give you two answers. They say it's some type of religious significance, but we don't know, or we don't know. Those are the two answers that they give you. So for me, when I saw these, I was just blown away. And I started to use these rods and practice with them, and I felt like terrible pain in my body. And I know in shamanism they say pain is energy hitting your block. So you have to work on that energy to get it out. So I started to move my arms like an antenna, and I would feel the energy go to where the pain was. So if I hit the pain, it would get worse and worse and worse. And I would just stand there getting more and more in pain until I could feel the energy it literally feels like it just comes out like this, and then it just drops right to the floor. That's what it feels like. And I'm like, okay, this is some serious healing going on here. And then something incredible started to happen to me. At nighttime, I'd be taken out of my body to these places. When I started to use these rods, I was taken back to Egypt at night. And I'd be taken into a temple in Egypt, and I'd be standing with a person just like the guy in the center here. They never said a word to me. They would just stand there in a pose, whatever that pose was, and I would stand in front of them and copy what they're doing. And when I did that, it felt like something opened up above my head, and this waterfall of energy would go through me. It felt like solar energy touching every cell, like waterfalls going through me. And it was so powerful that I would wake up in my own bedroom in the posture in my bed and still shaking. And once I broke the posture, it just shut off. So they started to teach me a whole new healing system of postures that I would do to heal myself. And, I showed you the picture where I was very skinny and underweight. But that wasn't my only problem. I grew up with IBS. I was basically allergic to food. So anything I ate hurt me. And then I had terrible dyslexia. I couldn't read or write. And I stuttered terribly. And once I started to do Qigong and the Egyptian postures, it just went away. That old person that I just thought was the normal Jason, who was always sick, stuttered, couldn't read or write, that just disappeared. And I realized that your energy systems are distorted. And when the energy systems are distorted, you can't process things properly. You can't process things in your mind properly. So using Qigong, I reassembled my energy fields. And once you reassemble the energy fields, those symptoms of who I was just vanished. I started to read again and write, and I just couldn't believe how great reading was. I think I read like hundreds of books because I never could do that. I would read one page and then watch the movie. Okay. So this is the information I got about the Egyptian postures. And basically they said that the postures were brought by a star nation called the Pleiades. And, the Pleiades, or the Pleiadians, it's a very, I guess, hip alien race on this planet. Everybody wants to connect to the Pleiadians. And what they said is that the Pleiadians devised this system of Qigong for the human race, because the human race back then, and this wasn't even in Egypt, this was what we call like pre-flood, so Atlantis times or before, that the human race was very unbalanced, just like it is today. And I believe time is cyclical. We're literally living in the times of Atlantis right now. Okay, take that in, please. Yeah. So we've come full circle again, and we're in the same position. We have high technology, no spirituality. So what these beings thought they can do was give these posture systems or healing systems to the planet, because if we change our energy and heal ourselves, we change the energy of the planet. Okay, we think we're disconnected from our planet and nature. That's not true. We are completely connected to our planet, and what we think and what we do affects our natural surroundings. So if we're in chaos, the world is going to be in chaos. All right, so they thought if they taught us this spiritual technology to help heal ourselves, then maybe we wouldn't destroy the planet and have to restart. It didn't work. It didn't work back then. So I feel like one of the reasons I'm here and one of the reasons I got this information is because we're very much in the same position as we were back then. So I'm trying to go out and teach people about, who they really are and the spiritual sciences of healing, so that we could have that personal transformation. And trust me, when you go through it, it's pretty intense. It is a pretty intense transformation, and you expand your awareness outside of your physical body, where you could literally communicate with the earth, the grids, the people. You could shake someone's hand and know what's wrong with them. It's not the greatest gift, Okay. So I put out this book, The Egyptian Postures of Power, and just like Forbidden Knowledge, the book, I never did anything to promote or market any of these things. And I really believe that when you appreciate what Spirit gives you, it has its own life form. So it's almost like birthing a baby. You did the work, you went through the labor, you put it out in the world, and you just say, there you go, live your life. And this book has been all over the world, and I even go to Japan and teach this 2 months out of the year in Japan, and they love it over there. So it's being practiced, I would say, almost every continent on the planet right now is being practiced. And I didn't do anything I just birthed it, and it just took its life. So I want to first tell you that you're all aware that you're all multidimensional beings, right? That's pretty common knowledge here. We're not bound by a physical body. We're eternal multidimensional beings living an experience on this planet. And as we went through different history, we've had different things called maps of consciousness. Has anybody heard of that term, maps of consciousness? Good. It means that different cultures in different time periods would try to interpret the universal laws and the reality and create mythology and stories to fit that cosmology so it could be passed through the generations. And the Egyptians had a very, very high science of spirituality. And I just want to go through the creation of the body, because the Egyptians knew that we were multidimensional beings, and each body or energy of a human was developed. It was nurtured. And we've lost that. We just think we're physical. We got our emotions and our problems and our crazy thoughts. But that's not how it works. That's not who we are. So I'll start with the body. And you'll see this story all the time. With the great potter's wheel, a being is building us out of clay. It's a very old creation story found all over the world. But in Egypt, human beings were born as twins. Have you ever heard that? we were born as twins. We had this astral body, or the Ka body of energy, and we had the physical body. And when we were birthed in the world, we were joined as one. So we were two beings in one being. And we had our heart, and our heart was a completely separate entity. Completely separate. It was the recorder. It was Thoth. Our heart was Thoth. It was the great recorder of our lives. It recorded everything we did, everything we felt, everything we experienced was recorded in our heart. And that later turned into the book of life in different cultures. And that was like the essence of our life, mind, emotions, and moral was in our heart. And the Egyptians were very funny and they were very magical because, you know the story where, the person dies, he goes to be judged by the scales with the heart and the feather in front of Osiris's throne. Well, what they did was they took your heart, because your heart couldn't lie. It had all your experiences, and they put it on the scale and weighed it next to a feather with symbolized truth. And if it was heavier, your heart was devoured by a monster, and you try again. So the Egyptians were very funny. They created these amulets, like the scarab beetle, and they would put it over the heart of the deceased person with an inscription on the back of the beetle. And basically, to paraphrase what it said was, please don't tell Osiris what I did. So don't speak against me, please. So, it's so strange. Yeah. So when they weighed your heart, you were either thrown back into the cycle of reincarnation, or you become Osiris. So Osiris is not like a being or a god. He was the goal of spiritual development. You were to become Osiris. All right? And then once you've become Osiris, you have the choice of either coming back to the world as a pharaoh or as a master to help raise the consciousness, or you can just stay and be one of the gods and hang out whatever they do. So they're having fun. And another thing which is so important that no one talks about is the name. Do you know your name is its own entity? Your name has its own power. So when these pharaohs, they grow up with their given name, and then they were given a name when they become pharaoh. Let's say they were given the name Akhenaten, because that wasn't his name. They gave that to him when he became pharaoh. Now, Akhenaten, or the name Akhenaten, was a spiritual, universal law. It was a spiritual master entity. So they believed that when they gave them those very secret names, that spirit would then embody them, and it would be the walking God on earth of that name. That's why names were so sacred, and there's hundreds of sacred names that you could only receive if you would go through those initiations. It was very important. In fact, if you look at the statues from Egypt, you know how the names are all chiseled off the statues in the walls? With our mind, we're thinking, oh, they just don't like that guy. They're insulting him. They're going to chisel his name off. No. When they inscribed that name on that statue, that energy of that being was imbued in that statue. So you can go to a statue and actually have spiritual experiences or healing or information come from that statue because it was magically connected to that name. So when they took that name off the statue, they totally destroyed the power of that energy. And then the Ka is our spirit, it's our life force. The thing with the Ka is that it's unlimited. We have unlimited power to every single person. Every person has, and just like animals and plants, we have unlimited potential and energy. And the symbol of Ka is actually this. And you see this symbol in many different cultures. It's like connecting to heaven. When you put your hands up like this, you're actually bringing down Ka energy through your body. You're repowering. Okay? Our bodies are very, very sacred temples. Very sacred temples. And it's designed in a very special way that when we change the geometry of our bodies to a different posture, we change what universal life force enters into us. Okay? Think about that. So if we needed to heal or connect to different beings, we could change our posture or mudra, or even what they're doing is saying a mantra. This is crazy. They're tuning into those forces. It's amazing. And the thing that I found amazing about learning about Ka is they said the gods also use Ka, and they also have unlimited access, just like us. So there's no difference between the gods, man, and nature, because they're all in that stream of Ka, of energy. And then this is where things get really crazy. We all have a shadow, and in Egypt, they believe the shadow was its own being by itself that would stay with the human through its experience. And at nighttime, sometimes the shadow will awaken and take the person in his body, his astral body. So you see the ba, it's a bird. And he would take them through portals to journey through time and space. So this is why people don't understand Egyptian hieroglyphics, is because you have to look at Egyptian hieroglyphics from a higher consciousness of outer body experience. The only reason I know what this is because that shadow was standing in front of my bed. It woke me up. It's the same thing with the story of Peter Pan. Do you remember his shadow took him to Neverland? It's the same story. All right, so people get freaked out. Like you see a shadow in your room, you're freaked out. You think it's like a ghost or a demon or whatever. If you knew that was like part of your soul, would you like have that reaction? But we're just taught not to even look at this. And the Ba was the immortal force that makes up your personality. And he's holding a symbol called the Shen, which is the symbol of eternity. It's eternity, your soul. Your personality is eternal, all right? It could leave your body after death, and it could find another vessel. It's eternal. And this is what they taught back in Egypt, and this is what we need to remember now. So it always survived after death. But the coolest thing about this is there was a spiritual science called the Ak, and that translates to the shining ones. And you hear about the shining ones in a lot of mystical texts. Even in the Bible, they talk about the shining ones. And what they believed is that when you die, when your Ba leaves your body, when your astral body leaves your physical body, you can do a spiritual transformation where you take your Ka energy and you merge it with your Ba body, and you create a new body called the Ak, the shining one. And it was symbolized as a bird. And they believe that all masters and gods are Aks, and they symbolize them as the stars of the heaven. So if you would reach that spiritual level, you would become the star in the sea of none, and you could choose to come back to any time you want, to any reality, because you are now the shining ones. And what I've been shown is that we don't have to die to do this. We can do this while we're still physical. All right, so there's an amazing spiritual science that has been crushed, really, really crushed. And this is why the sarcophaguses, like, why do they bury people in these sarcophaguses that are like Russian dolls? Because it's multidimensional. They're burying a multidimensional being, and each sarcophagus was meant as a journey of that level of consciousness to the afterlife. So the story was directed to the Ka, or the story was directed to the Ba at each level of these things. So we have to remember that we're not one, we're multi. And we take the multi, and once we start to bring our awareness into all these levels of self, we get our power back. That's what it's all about. Okay, so now we're going to get into some very weird territory. Now. Okay. So I get visitations from all these different types of beings, and this one was my favorite. So this being walks into the room at night, and this is exactly what it looks like. It looks like a Jedi Master. You can't really see the face. It's very dark. Wearing a cloak. It's like a dark, brownish, like monk coat. And it walks into the room, and it says to me, "Do you want to know your past lives?" And I said, "Get out of here." Well, because you're never prepared. I have to tell you, you are never prepared for these meetings, because you're sleeping, and suddenly there's something in your room talking to you. There's nothing to prepare you for that. And it waited patiently, thankfully, and then I calmed my heart down and I said, "Yes, I'd like to know." And I started to get downloads of different past lives and things. And then it started to tell me a story. It's a very strange story, and I'll share it with you. This being said to me, "Eons and eons before time began, many lands, many universes were drawn together by a spider's web. This spider's web was a way for many civilizations, many universes to connect and communicate with one another. Unfortunately, those who would discover the connection and want to take control of different worlds themselves have severed these threads deliberately. The time has come when the great beings of light, masters and ancestors, will incarnate. These are the hybrids of mankind, those whose job it is to raise the vibrational levels of those and connect between worlds." I think I'm talking to you guys right now. Okay, you are those masters and ancestors reincarnated here. That's what our job is. We're going to change the consciousness of this world, reconnect those etheric webs so that we can free ourselves and travel again. Okay. And this is what it looks like, actually. So this is not my bedroom. I wish it was my bedroom. But at nighttime, you'll be taken out of your body, and you'll just be floating, and then suddenly a portal will open up in the room, and the portals aren't very big. They're about this big, not very big. And it feels like a magnetic pull. It pulls you through it, and the only way I could describe going through a portal is it looks like black static, and it sounds like white noise, like wind blowing across your ears. That's what it feels like to go through a portal. And when you come out of the portal on the other side, you could be on a different planet, a different dimension. You could be in space. A lot of times you end up in space. It's very interesting. And one night, and this would happen to me all the time, it was another frustrating story. Every night I'd leave my body like 20 to 40 times. So I'd leave the body, portal will open up, go through a portal. I feel myself going through the portal, but right when I get to the other side of that portal, lose consciousness, wake back up in bed. Okay, frustrating. So what do? Leave my body again, another portal opens up, back. This goes on for months, and I'm getting tired and tired. I said, please, 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 I want to keep Jason consciousness awake as I travel these portals. And one night I got my wish, and it's a really funny story. So I come out of the end of the portal, and now I'm in space, and there's a being standing behind me, or flying behind me, like holding me by the shoulder. And I see a star system that we're flying towards, and using telepathy, I ask, where are we going? And it said to Pegasus. So I'm guessing like the Pegasus star system. And we start coming up to a planet. There's the planet. We start coming up to a planet that looked like it was mostly ice, and then around the equator it had some green land. And I went right down into this planet, and I went right into the body of a child. And I woke up in a classroom as Jason. So it's me, Jason, in a child's body, in a classroom, on a planet somewhere. And these were like human children. They looked human. And I start freaking out. I was so excited. I start disrupting the classroom and asking the children around me, what's my name, who am I, and all this. It probably sounds like I was talking in tongues to them because I was speaking English. And they were very confused. The class just stopped. They were trying to figure out, what is this kid doing? And I just said, screw this, I'm getting out of here. And I just ran out of the class, and I'm running down the hallways. And the only thing I could think of was, I need to find the library. I need to see something. I need to find the library. And I guess I was causing too much trouble because I was yanked back out, back through the portal into my bedroom. And I was like, okay, now I understand. We all live parallel selves. We have parallel selves living in other timelines and other worlds right now. That child was another aspect of me, and that's why I could connect to it. Right? And then I realized, thank God we have this separation, because could you imagine what it would be like if you had the memories of all your other selves in one body? It would be overwhelming. Overwhelming. Okay, so I'll just go quickly, levels of experience, because I do want questions at the end. I really want to open it up to you. Levels of experience. When you get taken out of your body, most of the time you're along for the ride, which means you have no control whatsoever. It's just wherever they want to take you, they take you, or wherever your higher guidance wants to take you, takes you. The next level is the observer, so you can be taken to a place and you're just watching, like you're a spirit in the sky and you're just watching and observing what's happening. The next level is the participant, which means your soul or consciousness attaches itself to some other being, and you're basically experiencing what they're experiencing. So you can't do anything except experience what they're doing. The next level is the controller, which I just told you I was dropped into the child, and I had full control over this kid. Like, it was just me in a little body. And that's a very, I would say, advanced level of control, just jumping bodies, and then you are controlling it. And you can go into past lives, parallel worlds, other dimensions, time travel, and you can communicate and learn many, many things on these journeys. And I just want to define what dimensions are. Dimensions are levels of awareness in different vibratory rates. Each vibratory nature has a unique body, vessel, or sense which allows you to navigate that reality. So when you leave the third dimension, you enter the fourth dimension of the astral world, you have an astral body so that you can use to navigate. It's in you. Every single person has this. You just have to have the awareness of connecting to it. So when you go to another planet, for example, which is not a human environment, you will take that form of whatever being it is that can survive there. So it depends on the environment will change your physical form. In the dimensions of mankind, we live in a very, very spiritual world that we've forgotten. Okay, we have earth elementals, spirits. We have things with us right now in this room. We just can't see them or communicate with them. And we cause a lot of disruption in their world, actually. And that's why we get attacked and a lot of entities and things come at us because we just don't understand that we're sharing this world with other things. Okay, we need to remember that. And then you have the inner world, so you can actually travel within your body, and it's a very primal thing. You go right back to the source of your creation and why we have this physical nature. And then you have the visionary worlds, which is psychic and channeling, where we can get information from outside of us or within us as well. And then what I spoke to you about, the astral world, time travel, dimensions, entities, portals. And my favorite is the void, the cosmic ocean, which is nothing. Has anybody been to the cosmic ocean? Okay. It's kind of overwhelming, but it's the most amazing place. It's basically, when you're at the cosmic ocean level, it's just darkness. You feel that you're the entire thing at once, and all experience is in that state. And once You'll have to experience it. And then we have levels of contact. And like I said, many people say they have connections to, Sirius or Pleiadians, Arcturians, these different beings. The thing that I was told is that we play all roles. Okay, so we are the Pleiadians, we are the Sirians, we are the Arcturians, just in different parallel realities. We play those roles. And the reason they're so connected to us in our consciousness is because sometime in our past, they've connected to us and influenced things that have happened on Earth. And because they have influenced what's happening on Earth, they are now bound and kind of stuck. All right, so there's like these laws of the universe. You're not supposed to interact. So these beings that come and interact, they kind of get stuck in this karmic loop here. So you'll get many people that are reincarnations of these beings. There's many Syrians walking around and Pleiadians and all these beings that are reincarnated here on Earth because they were brought through somehow in the past, and now they're walking in physical form here. So we have levels of contact, which is physical, like people getting abducted. But the levels of contact that I'm the most interested in is the psychic. We get a lot of information from our mind, dreams, telepathy, voice channeling, and visions. It's the best way of contact. We think a being is going to come from another planet in a spaceship for thousands of years in space to come and say, you're doing pretty good. No, it's not happening. What they do is that we're all connected telepathically to these beings. So in a dream state, for example, these beings could come to you, give you the information, and leave. That is the best way of contact, is through your dreams. All right, has anybody had contact through dreams? Exactly. It's the best way because it's not interfering in your life path. It's really not. The spaceship's not coming and taking you away. And then I spoke about the astral world, entities and beings. Like I said, there is a lot of things outside of you that you're not aware of. And what we need to do is really take our power back and build ourselves energetically strong. Because if you go to the astral world with all your distortions and problems, you're going to get hurt over there. There's no doubt about it. Because when you enter that arena, what you carry will attract the things that like the things you carry. So if you're carrying pretty bad things, you're going to attract some pretty bad things towards you. All right, so it's not fun, and it's a big learning curve. And then the dimensional matrix and other realities. This is the most amazing thing. There's beings, these dimensional beings out there that can come and take you out of your body, and with their mind, they can create a room just like this. So they'll take you, they'll put you in a room. You can't tell that it's not real. It's 100% real to you. And it's just been created by their mind. You go and you meet them. Wait. What's that movie? Inception, yeah, no, but it's Contact with Jodie Foster, yes. Where she goes to meet the alien and it's like on a beach and it's her father. It's like that. It's like they create this reality which they think will be suitable for you to give the message. All right? It's the most incredible thing that these beings could actually create that experience for you. And I want to end it with this. We are not the voices in our heads. We have to really understand this. That voice that keeps talking and telling you negative things or keeping you up at night, that is not you. Okay, that is things that are attached to you, or you're picking it up from what's around you or your family. And what you have to do is kind of say, and this was my mantra for a long time, is you are not my, what did I say? It's been a long time since I said this. That's right. You're not my thought forms. Please leave now. And that became my mantra. You're not my thought forms. Please leave now. So anytime I would get a thought, I would treat it as an intrusive entity. So my thoughts became intrusive entities. And anytime I'd get a thought, I would crush it and say, no, you're not my thought form. Please leave now. And it just completely, it took months, but after months, something happened to my mind where it just sounded like air. I wasn't thinking ever again, which is amazing. It's true peace when you don't think. And there are moments where, let's say I have a dream, and I'm like, have you ever had a dream where you're like, there's no way I can think this up? This is just so weird. Well, now that I can leave my body, when I'm having those dreams, I leave my body and I can see a being laying in bed with me speaking in the back of my head. So that's my reality. And it's not just speaking, it's sickness too. And I've had to deal with this a couple times. I actually dealt with it Wednesday night. Before coming out here, I was very sick. Like my head was pounding, my heart was pounding, I had anxiousness. I was just feeling terrible. And I was praying and, get rid of it. Nothing was working. And then Wednesday night, I left my body, and there was this thing like wrapped around my energy field. And I don't know what this thing is, but when I started to remove it, it sounded like a screaming squirrel. I don't know if you ever hear of a squirrel scream, but it's exactly what it sounded like. And once I took this thing off of me and I went back in my body, I was instantly better. All the symptoms that I had all week were gone instantaneously. And I knew that I was experiencing that pain and suffering because I had this thing stuck within me. And it's the same thing with thoughts. So we have these things that get stuck with us, and we need to purify, get rid of it, go to that no mind space, because that's where our power and health is.
How did you take it off?
Pardon me? Hold on, I got two questions. What did you say? I took it off physically, like in my astral body, taking it off my normal energetic field. Like I said, we have all these different bodies that we can transfer our consciousness to. And I was also using different mantras to do it. They don't really like mantras because they're vibrational signatures to various energy sources. And what was the other one I heard?
Why was it there?
Why was it there is because maybe I picked it up from food or walking on the land, and I wasn't in the right mindset to realize that I was maybe stepping where I shouldn't step. And we are an open source energy body, and when we walk this earth, sometimes we get different non-physical things get stuck within us. It's like our energetic fields are a net, and as we walk through this earth, things get trapped in our net, and they need to get released. Yes?
Do you think it was possible it was trying to prevent you from coming out here and sharing your information?
It's a very good possibility. Like I was supposed to be in Japan for a month, and I broke my back, so I didn't get to go there. So there are things that happen, but I don't think this message that I'm saying is too out there. I think we're all ready for it, right? We've heard things like this before.
It's good to, recollect and hear that, bring the light to people. So.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so you know what? Let me just see if there's anything else. Oh, this is what we were just talking about. Our energy feeds other dimensional beings. We're an open energy source. Because, like we get our nutrition and everything from the dimension below us, animals and plants, we get that nutrition. Other higher dimensional beings actually feed off of our emotions and thoughts. So some of these beings will actually implant emotions and implant thoughts into us to get us to start. It's like planting a seed and watching that seed grow into a tree. And then that tree will feed those beings. So what we have to do is say, we're not feeding you anymore. We're going to take our energy back and we're going to expand ourselves. So we're just being drained all the time. I do it through meditation, nutrition, supplements, qigong. But the most important thing is your mind. Really, really your mind. Like when my wife nearly killed me. When I broke my back and I was at the bottom of the stairs and they had to have 2 ambulances there to move me. I kept saying to them, don't worry, just give me a minute. I'll walk this off. And my wife is like, don't move. Thank God I didn't move because with the break, it was called a 3-tier break, which means there was nothing holding my spinal column together. Which means if I would have fallen, I could have died. It wasn't a good break. But hey, I'm here now, right? So, but in my mind, there was nothing wrong with me. Right? I didn't even put myself in that position of being crippled or something wrong. I felt incredible pain, but my mind was telling me, don't worry, I could just walk this off, it's nothing. And I still feel and think that way, and that's a big reason why I'm standing here. Yes?
Are those Egyptian rods the ones they spoke of regenerating limbs?
I'm not sure. I didn't read that one.
I'll email.
Okay, thank you. But it is possible because what the rods were doing was creating an energetic circuit through the body. So it was stimulating the electron flow through the body. So if you had a healing issue or a blockage, it would help break that through. So that is could be quite possible. Yes, you.
Some Egyptian rods, I think that people hold copper and zinc.
Yep.
Rod.
Yes. Well, think of it as polarities. They're called dissimilar metals. So one had a positive charge and a negative charge. And what you're doing, again, is you're creating this electronic circuit. And what do we have? Batteries today are made out of zinc and copper. And in fact, geez, I'm wearing zinc and copper bracelets because when you put 2 of zinc and copper together, it's called dissimilar metals. And it actually has a reaction of about a milliamp of electricity gets generated by those 2 elements put together. So in ancient cultures, when they're digging up these ancient sites, they find buried bodies and they have copper bracelets on their arms and on their legs. So this is a very ancient tradition. There was one question back there, yeah. Oh yeah. You can get them from my website, thecrystalsun.com. The Crystal Sun. Actually, I think I have a slide here. Actually, before I go this is very important. Awakening from the matrix is the process of reclaiming your power and taking control over your own reality. So we all need to really take ourselves back. I think I have a slide here. Yeah, there we go. I lost it. Is the process of reclaiming your power and taking control over your own reality. It's almost like reclaiming your sovereignty. For example, this is a common thing. So many people report this. You leave your body, and there's a being standing in front of you, and it goes, I am your God. Come with me. I could speak all day, but thank you so much for hearing my story. Thank you. And I just want to add, I didn't bring too many things, but all those stories that I told you are in my